Shri Guru Shri Kamalam, Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha, Shri Rupam Sagradatam, Sagana Raghunathanutam Tathivam, Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam, Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sargan Lalitam Shri Vishakanitamscha, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti-vaibhava Swami Nityanamne Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyadi Bhashakya Deshatare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Vedanta Shri Vasani Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sarva Shastrabdhi Piyusha Sarva Vedika Satphala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnamya Sarva Loka Prada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata O Kalim Panto Vitaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita Paramananda Patharya Vashaksharayate Sarvada Sarva Sevya Shri Krishna Namaste मदेक बंधु मत्संगिन मद्गुरु मन्महाधन मन्निस्तारक मद्भाग्य मदानंद नमस्तुते असाधु साधुता दामे अतिनीचोच्चता कर आनमुच कदाचिन मां प्रेरणा कंठयो स्फुर ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. Okay, I'm going to read out from this point in the purport the specific significance of his coming back. His meaning Brahma. The specific significance of his coming back may be noted. Brahma and the great rishis and the great master of yoga, Shiva, are not ordinary living entities. They are very powerful and have all the perfections of mystic yoga. But still, they have an inclination to try to become one with the Supreme, and therefore they have to come back. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is accepted that as long as one thinks that he is equal with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is not completely purified or knowledgeable. In spite of going up to the first Purushavatara Mahavishnu, after the dissolution of this material creation, such personalities again fall down or come back to the material creation. It is a great fall down on the part of the impersonalist to think that the Supreme Lord appears within a material body and that one should therefore not meditate upon the form of the Supreme, but should meditate instead on the formless. For this particular mistake, even the great mystic yogis or great stalwart transcendentalists also come back again when there is creation. All living entities other than the impersonalists and monists can directly take to devotion service in full Krishna consciousness and become liberated by developing transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such devotion service develops in the degrees of thinking of the Supreme Lord as master, as friend, as son, and at last as a lover. These distinctions in transcendental variegatedness must always be present. 16. Okay, wait. Let's have a look at this. The Thakur's edition. 15 is separate. 16, 17, 18 altogether. 16. ये त्विहासक्त मनसः कर्मसु श्रद्धयान्विता कुर्वन्ति अप्रतिषिद्धानि नित्यानि अपि च कृत्स्नशः. This is not a complete sentence. 17. रजसा कुण्ठ मनसः कामात्मानोजितेन्द्रियाः पितॄन् यजन्ति अनुदिनं गृहेषु अभिरताशयाः. 18. त्रैवर्गिकास्ते पुरुषा विमुखा हरिमेधसः कथायां कथनीयोर्विक्रमस्य मधुद्विषः. Persons who are too addicted to this material world execute their prescribed duties very nicely and with great faith. They daily perform all such prescribed duties with attachment to the fruitive result. Kurvanti apratisiddhani nityani api. Apratisiddhani literally means that which is not forbidden. So they carry out all non-forbidden prescribed duties. And of course, non-forbidden prescribed duties itself indicates that They carry out their non-forbidden duties as well as their nitya, the routine duties, repeatedly. So this indicates that they are already attached to the material benefits that come out of such material duties. Such persons, impelled by the mode of passion, are full of anxieties and always aspire for sense gratification due to uncontrolled senses. They worship the forefathers and are busy day and night improving the economic condition of their family, social, or national life. Such persons are called Trivargika because they are interested in the three elevating processes. They are averse to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can give relief to the conditioned soul. They are not interested in the Supreme Personality's pastimes, which are worth hearing because of his transcendental prowess. Yatra bhakti abhave sati brahmadinam api evam avrittihi. Tatra kamyakarmanam kasyam lekhayam sthiti. Kasyam lekhayam? Kasyam lekhayam sthiti. कस्याम लेखायाम स्थितिः इति तान् निन्दन्नाः षड्भिः ये त्विहेति. Now when even Brahma and the others have to come back due to absence of Vishnu Bhakti, complete Vishnu Bhakti, then how can we count the problems involved in the Kamya Karmis, the Sakama Karmis? With this in mind, Lord Kapila criticizes them in 6 verses, beginning with the current verse. Apratishidhani kamyani nityani api sarvani eva karmani kurvanti. They perform all the activities which are prescribed or allowed in the Vedic scriptures. The routine activities are prescribed. If you do not carry them out, you will incur sinful reactions. Then they also carry out the non-forbidden activities presented in the Vedas. They are not forbidden, nor are they routine. They are not compulsory, nor are they forbidden. There's a category which is in between Vihita Karma and Nishiddha Karma. Vihita Karma means prescribed duty. Nishiddha Karma means prohibited activity. So you have prescribed activities, prohibited activities. And then you have a large category in between them. Kamya Karma. Optional activities. Allowed activities. Desirable activities. For materialistic people, these things are very much desirable. And desirable activities are obviously carried out with an attachment for the material benefits that come out of those activities. Otherwise, why would they carry them out? They've been Indian. So these Kamya Karmis are also criticized. Kim uta vikarmanaha. Karminaha iti bhava. What to speak about sinful people. People who engage in activities of vikarma. Now these are sinless materialists. There is something called sinless materialists. There are sinful materialists. There are sinless materialists. Sinful materialists, they go to hell. Sinless materialists, they may go to heaven. But both of them are criticized to different degrees, of course. It's not that we criticize both of them to the same degree. But these people are also criticized. In this and the following 6 verses, the Srimad Bhagavatam criticizes persons who are too materially attached. It is enjoined in the Vedic scriptures that those who are attached to the enjoyment of material facilities have to sacrifice and undergo certain ritualistic performances. They have to observe certain rules and regulations in their daily lives to be elevated to the heavenly planets. It is stated in this verse that such persons cannot be liberated at any time. Those who worship demigods with the consciousness that each and every demigod is a separate god cannot be elevated to the spiritual world. What to speak of persons who are simply attached to duties for the upliftment of their material condition? Such persons, impelled by the mode of passion, are full of anxieties and always aspire for sense gratification due to uncontrolled senses. They worship the forefathers and are busy day and night improving the economic condition of their family, social, or national life. Hariti samsaram medha yasya tasya. Where is that? That will come here. Such persons are called Trivargika because they are interested in the three elevating processes. They are averse to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can give relief to the conditioned soul. They are not interested in the Supreme Personality's pastimes, which are worth hearing because of his transcendental prowess. Harimedhasaha Thayam Madhudushaha. Wait, let me just quickly have a look at. Harimedhasaha Harati Samsaram Medha Yasya. यद्वा हरिः संसारदुःखहन्त्री मेधा यस्य तस्य संसारनाशनस्य. Lord Hari's intelligence is focused on removing the experience of matter from those who take shelter of him. He removes the distress of material existence for those who take shelter of him. In other words, he is a destroyer of samsara, material existence. Samsara nasham. Sakal Purush Samsar Nasham, Madhusudan, Sri Hari. Sri Hari, Madhusudan. It destroys material existence for all persons who take shelter of it. That is indicated by this word. Hari Me Dasa. According to Vedic thought, there are 4 elevating principles. This is a very interesting and important conception. Elevating principles. We are eternal beings. In material existence, we are subjected to several unlimited lifetimes of material existence. Each time we take birth, we grow, we die. Strictly speaking, the spirit souls don't grow and they don't die. But the material bodies which we inhabit in, they grow and they die, and we are made to identify ourselves with these bodies. So there are principles to elevate ourselves from this position. The highest position is the position of liberation, as far as materialistic people are concerned. So in Vedic culture, there are arrangements to elevate the soul over the lifetimes, at least, to higher statuses from which he does not have to fall back. He does not have to fall down. According to Vedic thought, there are 4 elevating principles, namely religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Persons who are simply interested in material enjoyment make plans to execute prescribed duties. They are interested in the 3 elevating processes of religious rituals, economic elevation, and sense enjoyment. By developing their economic condition, they can enjoy material life. Materialistic persons are therefore interested in those elevating processes which are called Trivargika. Tri means 3, Vargika means elevating processes. Such materialistic persons are never attracted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, they are antagonistic towards him. So these are the karmis. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur describes these persons as elevationists. He calls them elevationists. the ones who are interested in elevating themselves. So in this life, I'm human being. Next life, I should become a sub-demigod, then become a proper demigod, and then move up, move up, move up. So in that way, that is elevationism. Then you have the ones who seek salvation. And he refers to those souls who are interested in that as salvationists. Salvationism. They're interested in salvation, in moksha. By this logic, we'll have to refer to those who want to simply please Lord Krishna as devotionalists. Devotionalism. Elevationism, salvationism, devotionalism. One may be interested in all three also. The Swanishtas, they are elevationists, salvationists, and devotionalists. The Paranishtas are not elevationists, but they are salvationists and devotionalists. Nirapekshas are only devotionals. But all three are sinless. That is very important. It is sinless elevationism that we are talking about. Sinless elevationism, sinless salvationism, sinless devotionalism. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is here described as Harimedha. Harimedhas is the original expression. Harimedha is another version of that. Harimedhas. Or he who can deliver one from the cycle of birth and death. Materialistic persons are never interested in hearing about the marvelous pastimes of the Lord. They think that they are fictions and stories, and that the Supreme Godhead is also a man of material nature. They are not fit for advancing in devotion, service, or Krishna consciousness. Such materialistic persons are interested in newspaper stories, novels, and imaginary dramas. The factual activities of the Lord, such as Lord Krishna's acting in the battle of Kurukshetra, or the activities of the Pandavas, or the Lord's activities in Vrindavan or Dwaraka, related in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which are full of the activities of the Lord. But materialistic persons who engage in elevating their position in the material world are not interested in such activities of the Lord. They may be interested in the activities of a great politician or a great rich man of this world, but they are not interested in the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. Okay, question.
Hare Krishna, bro. Bro, this karma karma or the, like demigod worship or something, can it change the prarabdha or like once
No
we
question. No way. No way. No. Even salvationism cannot remove prarabdha. Prarabdha has to be experienced. That's all for all these people. Unless one becomes a nirapeksha sadhaka, his prarabdha karma has to be experienced. Even for the paranishtitas, one full lifetime will go in having to experience prarabdha karma. Of course, since prarabdha karma is practically speaking unlimited, then the question arises, what about the remaining prarabdha karma? So they are made to experience a token extent of their prarabdha karma, and the remaining is distributed off to others who deserve that.
So it cannot remove, but can it not change a little bit, like by demigod worship people get something desirable in this life, kamya.
That is
Otherwise,
simply cut
how?
and paste. That is simply cut and paste. Suppose I am supposed to be poor in this life, I worship Ganapati properly, in meaning that I surrender to Ganapati, all the 6 items of surrender. I do everything properly. Then Lord Ganapati may bless me to become exceptionally rich in this life. But how he does that is he simply looks at my prarabdha karma, and somewhere there, wherever there is the karmic reaction that is supposed to yield extreme prosperity, that he will take it out from there and put it here, and from here this poverty will get substituted there. It will go there. So it's not actually going to solve the problem. But when we are mad for material happiness, we don't think all these things now. Instead of intense material desire, to not think about the future. Same thing with astrological remedies, same thing with vastu remedies, and so on.
Yes, true. Prabhu, are there some very pious activity which can generate some piety in this life? Generate not like from next life.
All sinful activities will begin to give results from this life. All pious activities will begin to give results from this life. That depends, for each particular soul who has attained a human body. It depends on what kind of pious and sinful activities he executed in the past, and whether that karmic reaction is distributed in a thick manner or a thin manner. Thick manner meaning that, let us say, okay, like for instance, Dhritarashtra is said to have been a person who had killed 100 birds or something. Okay, but he had also executed many pious activities because of which he was supposed to become a great emperor. At the same time, he did some sinful activity because of which he had to be blind also. So all of this is given in one life. But some at other times, karmic reactions are distributed over several lifetimes. So instead of you becoming a multimillionaire in one life, you are made into you're a rich person, but not a multimillionaire, not a millionaire, a rich man. So you'll be a rich man for 10 lifetimes. Actually, this understanding of karma is very, very important. Very important, because in Vedic culture, overall, all the uncontrollable situations because of which we experience distress is explained in terms of karma. There are so many uncontrollable situations because of which we experience distress. There are also controllable situations because of which we experience distress. Like for instance, a child doesn't study for exam and fails. So now the reason is the activity committed now, it is not some previous karmic reaction. He did not study. It is within a controllable environment. He had the opportunity to study and still he did not study. So he failed. But there are situations where you simply don't have the ability to control the situation. Like for instance, let us say a 10th standard student supposed to sit for a final exam and study nicely. But throughout that year, that academic year, let us say the child is continuously sick and therefore continuously has to be admitted in a hospital even. And the sickness is such that the child repeatedly becomes unconscious, that boy or girl, whoever. So now it is an uncontrollable situation. So even though that boy or girl, that student might be generally a bright student, might be having a sickness like that, and the cure for that would be administered only after 2-3 years, let us say. These situations are very common, even in rich countries. It's an uncontrollable situation. So here we are coming across distress due to an uncontrollable situation. So this is explained as a result of karma. Due to karmic reaction, the person is going through this. This is what is referred to as daiva. It is destiny, providence. They will say these things because it is distress due to an uncontrollable situation. Very, very important. It's very important to understand this. In today's world, they don't understand in general. I'm talking of Western civilization. They don't understand karma. They don't understand karma, and the ones who are inclined towards religiosity, they're generally monotheists, and they're very much puzzled. Why is God punishing this innocent child? But God is not punishing this innocent child. This innocent child is himself or herself punishing. That child is punishing herself or himself due to some previous sinful activity. Sinful activity means I am doing something which is harming others. You harm others, you have to suffer. What authority you have to harm others? Everybody is equal in the eyes of God. Everybody is God's children. So how can you harm others? You harm others, you need to be disciplined. So that comes over several lifetimes of rewards and punishments. Then the soul may develop some inbuilt conviction. That is referred to as Shraddha in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17. Shraddha Mayoyam Purusha. That person is made up of Shraddha. This Shraddha is the basic conviction. It's a basic conviction that if I engage in pious activities, it is good. If I engage in sinful activities, it is bad. This is, of course, Rajasic Shraddha. Tamasic Shraddha is the exact opposite. I must somehow or other engage in whatever activities they call sinful because it is good for me, it is good for others. And not good for others, it's good for me. And anyway, the world doesn't care for me, so I should just take care of myself. This is a Tamasic Shraddha. In Sattvic Shraddha, one has the conviction that I should get out of material existence. There's something wrong with this whole world. Should get out of this world. So these are all very inborn, deep convictions. Practically speaking, you can say it is one layer above the subtle body. It's so deeply formed. That conviction is created by oneself. I myself create my faith. This is lifelong conviction. This is not something which is very easily changeable. So, karmic reaction, study of karmic reaction is very, very important. Karma vipaka comes almost in every Purana. This is discussed. How karma matures. Very important point. All right, anyway, let's move on. 19. Nunam daivena vihatta ye chachuta katha sudham hitva shrinvantyasad gatha purisham iva vidbhujah. Such persons are condemned by the supreme order of the Lord because they are averse to the nectar of the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are compared to stool-eating hogs. They give up hearing the transcendental activities of the Lord and indulge in hearing of the abominable activities of materialistic persons. Achyuta katha eva sudha tam tyaktva iti tadanyaha sarvaha eva asadgatha. They give up the nectar of the narrations concerning Lord Achyuta. In other words, every other topic is asadgata, is about something temporary. Nanu sudham prapya ke na upubhunjante. Who's an objection may be presented. Who would give up nectar having attained it and not relish it? Having attained nectar, who would choose to not relish it? Tatraha purishamiveti. In response to that, the fourth line is presented. Shira khandadikam tyaktva vidbhujaha hi purishameva anvishyanti ityartha. Just as the stool-eating hogs, they don't eat kheer or other such milk sweets, which are very sweet, and they search for stool. Everyone is addicted to hearing of the activities of another person, whether a politician or a rich man or an imaginary character whose activities are created in a novel. There are so many nonsensical literatures, stories, and books of speculative philosophy. Materialistic persons are very interested in reading such literature, but when they are presented with genuine books of knowledge like Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu Purana, or other scriptures of the world such as the Bible and Quran, they are not interested. These persons are condemned by the Supreme Order as much as a hog is condemned. The hog is interested in eating stool. If the hog is offered some nice preparation made of condensed milk or ghee, he won't like it. He would prefer obnoxious, bad smelling stool, which he finds very relishable. Materialistic persons are considered condemned because they are interested in hellish activities and not in transcendental activities. The message of the Lord's activities is nectar. The message of the Lord's activities. The Lord's very activities constitute some message to the conditioned souls. It is nectar. And besides that message, any information in which we may be interested is actually hellish. 20. Dakshинena patharyamna pitrulokam vrajanti te prajamanu prajayante shmashananta kriyakritaha. Such materialistic persons are allowed to go to the planet called Pitraloka by the southern course of the sun, but they again come back to this planet and take birth in their own families, beginning again the same fruitive activities from birth to the end of life. Pitralokat punaha prajam anu swaputra adishu prajayante. They go to Pitraloka. Pitraloka is some kind of sub-heavenly planet. It is a celestial world, certainly, far superior to the world of human beings, no doubt, but it is inferior to Swarga, meaning the kingdom of Indra. So, having returned from Pitraloka, they take birth amongst their progeny, amongst their families, within their families, meaning they are born to their sons and so on. Garbhadhanad arabhya shmashanantah kriyah kritavantah shastrokta karma karinah ityartha. And we are talking about those who execute all the prescriptions and prohibitions from Garbhadana up to the funeral rites, the final rites of burning the body. All the prescriptions and prohibitions pertaining from for all of these life situations, they carry it out according to Shastra. Such persons in Bhagavad Gita. So this the Sakama Karmis or the Griha Medhis, they are of this type. These are the Griha Medhis. They are sinless materialists. In Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, verse 21, it is stated that such persons are elevated to the higher planetary systems. As soon as their lifetimes of fruitive activity are finished, they return to this planet and thus they go up and come down. Those who are elevated to the higher planets again come back into the same family for which they had too much attachment. They are born and the fruitive activities continue again until the end of life. There are different prescribed rituals from birth until the end of life, and they're very much attached to such activities. These are all pious people, pious materialists, you can say. In fact, I know someone who has a desire for how the cremation rites should be performed. The person is alive, old person. But the person is very much insisting that certain arrangements, that person has a large family. And the family is, of course, scattered here and there. But that person has so much of a strong resolute determination that after that person dies, how the ritual should be conducted for that person's funeral. They're very, very particular about all these things. Not serious about Krishna consciousness. That is also there. Okay, question.
Prabhu, when we say materialistic person, Just like those who are engaged in devotional service, those who are initiated, even though they have to do some work, so they go to job and do jobs in different organizations, industries. So while they are doing job, that 8 hours of duty, so it is also considered as a materialistic life only, although they are giving their money at the end of their month as a donation, still it is considered materialistic.
What is materialistic? That activity is certainly materialistic.
So the occupation they are doing, that is that the duration which they are doing, so it is completely materialistic life only, then it is considered
That
no
duty,
devotional
that
activity.
no, it's not a devotional. Why is it devotional activity?
But they are offering the result to the Lord in the
That
form
is
of
pious
Lakshmi.
activity. Correct. That is pious. That is pious only. Pious people will do that.
So that is considered as a pious activity.
Yes, it is pious activity. It depends what job they are engaged in. If the job is, what if they're in some cigarette manufacturing company or a wine factory? These are all sinful. Is sinful pious? You have to look at the activity and see what that activity is now.
Okay. So now the present job fields like uh, IT industries and all, so they
Okay,
are also considered as pious or impious.
it depends. What pious activity do they do with that software?
Yeah, as far as we see, they are simply doing for only earning money, and that money they are engaging in for
Yeah,
sincere.
that is basically a Shudra sector. Just simply interested in earning money. That's all. They don't care. And if they get a better job, then they'll go move on to the next one. That's all.
Okay, bro.
Okay. 21. Tadaste khena sukrita पुनर्लोकम इमं सति पतन्ति विवशादेवै सद्यो vibramshitodaya. When the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they fall down by higher arrangement and again come back to this planet, just as any person raised to a high position sometimes all of a sudden falls. Katham prajayante tatraha tataste punarimam lokam prati patanti. So they fall down from the higher worlds, the higher destinations. This is how they take birth. Udayaha, bhoga sadhanam, yesham, vibhamshita udaya, their prosperity. They are they are thrown away from their prosperous environment, from their enjoying prosperous environment. It is sometimes found that a person elevated to a very high position in government service falls down all of a sudden and no one can check him. Similarly, after finishing their period of enjoyment, foolish persons who are very much interested in being elevated to the position of president and higher planets also fall down to this planet. The distinction between the elevated position of a devotee and that of an ordinary person attracted to fruitive activities is that when a devotee is elevated to the spiritual kingdom, he never falls down, whereas an ordinary person falls, even if he is elevated to the highest planetary system, Brahmaloka. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Abrahmam Bhuvanaloka, that even if one is elevated to a higher planet, he has to come down again. But Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita 8.16, Mamupetye tu kaunteya punarjanma na vidyate. Anyone who attains my abode never comes back to this conditioned life of material existence. Question.
Prabhu,
The question of Samapati Gauranga Prabhu, that working devotees, can we consider them as performing Bhakti Mishra karma or Bhakti Mishra adharma, maybe in some scenarios?
See, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that you should choose an occupation which does not contradict the common duties prescribed for human beings in the 7th canto.
And if I don't know how many have considered this. I was not even knowing when I was working about this thing. So I did Bhakti Mishra Dharma in that case.
No, even in the past, there were always people who had to work for the Muslim government, all these things. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time also, there were people who were like that. But if you're a Shudra, be a good Shudra. That's all. What can be done? In all the Varnas, there are gray areas and black areas. So sometimes you have to work for some adharmic people, means you have to just shut up and work. That's all. It is not the best environment. But in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, it was always understood that you are supposed to increase your engagement in Navavidha Bhakti until you come to the point where you are completely freed from it and you only engage in Navavidha Bhakti. So that is how from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time things were executed. You see in the life of Raghunath Das also, you're supposed to increase his engagement in Navavidha Bhakti until he comes to the point where he has attained full detachment and renunciation. Then he comes to Puri and he stays with Lord Chaitanya. Then he becomes more and more and more detached and renounced. That is the pathway. You see, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also, at a certain point, he resigned, became Vanaprastha. Vanaprasthas don't engage in sexual activity, nor do they earn money. So, but with whatever money they have, they engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. So he was executing, in fact, he built the Yogapith temple also when he was Vanaprastha only. And then afterwards, finally, he also accepted Paramahamsya. He got it from Gauranga. So in that way, he also progressed. In Varnashama Dharma, it is much more clear. You are defined as a grihastha and you become a Vanaprastha, then you become a sannyasi, and then within sannyas there are different levels. Today's world is an abnormal world, so you cannot expect that their spiritual progress would be normal. For them to make normal progress, you need to have farm communities. In farm communities, things will be more normal. Things will be much more pious, you can say. That is a pious platform to make spiritual progress. Otherwise, you can make progress, but it is more difficult. The pious platform makes it easier. All right, let's move on. 22. Tasmat tvam sarvabhavena bhajasva parameshtinam tad gunashrayaya bhaktya bhajaneya padam bhujam. My dear mother, I therefore advise that you take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for his lotus feet are worth worshipping. Accept this with all devotion and love, for thus you can be situated in transcendental devotional service. Nivritta karma pranam ante yatha athattam ityatra shruta anubhavam sharanam vrajab bhavena bhavini ityahasma. Tathaiva pravritta karma pranam ante pyaha tasmatvam iti. See, when he had described the life of the persons engaged in Nivritti Marga, he had said, therefore, you should completely engage in devotional service to me, the Supreme Lord. So, like that, now having described Pravritti Marga, he says the same thing he's saying. Tena tvam nivrittam pravrittam cha karma ma kuru iti bhava. So the implication is, don't engage in pravritti marga activities, don't engage in nivritti marga activities also. Sarvabhavena sarvatmana harim bhaktiya bhajasva. In every manner and in an absolute manner, simply serve Lord Hari with devotion. No, saiva katham syat. Now, how can that be executed? Atraha tad gunashraya yaya bhaktya tad guna eva ashrayah pravritti hetuhu yasyaha taya bhajaniyam bhajanarhamiti ambujam khalu kasmai madhu vrataya narochate iti bhava. You should execute devotional service that is connected with the qualities of the Lord. In other words, just as a lotus is naturally pleasing to a bee, to which bee is a lotus not pleasing? Lotus that has honey will naturally be pleasing to a madhukara or a bee. So one should be fixed in the lotus feet of Lord Hari in order to execute bhakti absolutely. Absolutely means you give up everything else and only engage in Navida Bhakti. The word Parameshtinam. Parameshtinam here means the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. The word Parameshtinam is sometimes used in connection with Brahma. Parameshtinam comes from the word Parameshtin or Parameshti, which generally refers to Brahma. Parameshti means a supreme person. Actually, it means the supreme person. As Brahma is a supreme person within this universe, Krishna is a supreme personality in the spiritual. So therefore, Parameshti is commonly used with reference to Brahma, because Brahma is the chief person within this universe. But Krishna is a chief person in the spiritual world. Lord Kapila Deva advises his mother that she should take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna because it is worthwhile. Taking shelter of demigods, even those in the highest positions like Brahma and Shiva, is not advised here. One should take shelter of the Supreme Godhead. Sarva Bhavena means in all-loving ecstasy. Bhava is the preliminary stage of elevation before the attainment of pure love of Godhead. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Buddha Bhava Samanvita. One who has attained the stage of Bhava can accept the lotus feet of Lord Krishna as worshipable. This is also advised here by Lord Kapila to his mother. Also significant in this verse is the phrase, Tad Gunashrai Yaya Bhaktya. This means that discharging devotional service unto Krishna is transcendental. It is not material activity. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Those who engage in devotional service are accepted to be situated in the spiritual kingdom. Brahma Bhuyaye Kalpade. They at once become situated in the transcendental kingdom. Of course, this is Kevala Bhakti. This is absolute engagement in Navida Bhakti. It is not that sometime I engage in this on a daily basis and the remaining time I'm engaging in other activities. Even if those activities are prescribed in Vedic culture. Devotion service and full Krishna consciousness is the only means for attaining the highest perfection of life for the human being. This is recommended herein by Lord Kapila to his mother. Bhakti is therefore nirguna, free from all tinges of material qualities. Although the discharge of devotional service appears to be like material activities, it is never saguna or contaminated by material qualities. Tad gunashrayaya means that Lord Krishna's transcendental qualities are so sublime that there is no need to divert one's attention to any other activities. His behavior with the devotees is so exalted that a devotee need not try to divert his attention to any other worship. It is said that the demoniac Putana came to kill Krishna by poisoning him. But because Krishna was pleased to suck her breast, she was given the same position as his mother. The devotees therefore pray that if a demon who wanted to kill Krishna gets such an exalted position, why should they go to anyone other than Krishna for their worshipful attachment? There are two kinds of religious activities, one for material advancement and the other for spiritual advancement. By taking shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna, one is endowed with both kinds of prosperity, material and spiritual. Why then should one go to any demigod? Question.
So when we say fully engaging in Krishna consciousness, we see from the life of Bhaktivinoda Thakur while he was working in the court, or Srila Prabhupada while he was working in the pharmacy, they were not fully engaged in Krishna consciousness.
Yes, correct. So, what is your question?
Okay, that is what I want. Just confirm.
That is how it goes. You start with Gunibhuta Bhakti, then you move to Pradhanibhuta Bhakti, then you move to Kevala Bhakti. That is the process. They knew that very well. The only problem is our people are thinking that they will just continue that itself, that Gunibhuta process itself, and that itself will take them back to God. This is a delusion. Just like when you're in a school, you're in first standard, you're then in second standard. First standard classes are only for a few hours now. But they don't imagine, those children don't imagine that for 12 years they will be like that. That is foolishness. So first standard, you're like that. That's fine. But you know you're going to go to second standard, third standard, fourth standard, fifth standard. You'll come to 8th standard, then you'll come to 10th standard. There'll be a public exam, then 12th standard, then there's another big exam. Then afterwards you have to go to university. They know the whole process. So you have to know the process. You have to understand the process. You function at a particular level. That's okay. But you should be interested in moving through the process now.
Oh, but we
Okay.
see that, but nowadays that Vanaprastha life is also not fully incorporated in our ISKCON. If one is
Okay.
ready to also,
Okay.
then how can they
Okay.
do?
How can they do means what? They join the temple. Prabhupada explains Vanaprastha life means you join the temple. Okay. Okay, there was another question.
Prabhu, here it comes that to take shelter of that Parmeshtinam, it comes, no? So in Bhagavad Gita also we say that before that 15.66 one sloka comes that Tameva Sarnam Gacha, like that. After telling about Paramatma, Krishna tells that take shelter of Paramatma. So some people ask that why Krishna is not telling that take shelter of me, or here also Lord is not telling take shelter of me. Why about Parmeshtinam or Tam Paramatma, like that?
Why the third person reference? That is because he's saying before that first he spoke about Brahman meditation. Then he spoke about Paramatma meditation. Then he's speaking about Bhagavan meditation. When it comes to Bhagavan meditation, he says Manmanabha Madbhakto Madhyajim Am Namaskuru. When he's talking of Paramatma meditation, he's saying Tammeva Saranam Gacha. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hridesher Janatisthati. That's also third party reference, no? He's saying the Supreme Lord is present within the hearts of all living entities, driving them around. Third party reference. Then he before that he spoke about Brahman, Brahmabhuta Prasannatma, and so on. Vishate Tadanantaram. He enters into that. Okay. 23. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayatyasu Vairagyam Jnanam Yad Brahma Darshanam. Engagement in Krishna consciousness and application of devotional service unto Krishna make it possible to advance in knowledge and detachment as well as in self-realization. Jnanadi Ichuha api Bhaktimeva Kuryadatyaha. Even that person who desires perfection in jnana in yoga, such a person should also only execute Vishnu Bhakti. He should only do that. He should not do anything else. With this in mind, he speaks the current verse, Vasudeve. Brahma Darshanam Brahmanubhava. Here, Brahma Darshanam means Brahmanubhava, experience of Brahman, self-realization. There are different stages of self-realization. In Ramanujacharya's Gita Bhashya it comes. one realizes his self as different from the body, then he realizes that he is qualitatively as good as other Jivatmas. He realizes he is qualitatively equal with the Supreme Lord. There are different phases of self-realization. It is said by less intelligent men that Bhakti Yoga or devotional service is meant for persons who are not advanced in transcendental knowledge and renunciation. But the fact is that if one engages in the devotional service of the Lord in full Krishna consciousness, he does not have to attempt separately to practice detachment or to wait for an awakening of transcendental knowledge. It is said that one who engages unflinchingly in the devotional service of the Lord actually has all the good qualities of the demigods develop in him automatically. One cannot discover how such good qualities develop in the body of a devotee, but actually it happens. There is one instance where a hunter was taking pleasure in killing animals, but after becoming a devotee, was not prepared to kill even an ant. Such is the quality of a devotee. So this refers to engagement in Kevala Bhakti. You execute full devotional service, then you will develop all these good qualities automatically. You don't engage in Kevala Bhakti, then you must manually cultivate these good qualities. Those who are very eager to advance in transcendental knowledge can engage themselves in pure devotion service without wasting time in mental speculation. For arriving at the proper conclusions of knowledge and absolute truth, the word Brahma Darshanam is significant in this verse. Brahma Darshanam means to realize or to understand the transcendence. One who engages in the service of Vasudeva can actually realize what Brahman is. If Brahman is impersonal, then there is no question of Darshanam, which means seeing face to face. Darshanam refers to seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva. Unless the seer and seen are persons, there is no Darshanam. Brahma Darshanam means that as soon as one sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he can at once realize what impersonal Brahman is. So, if one executes Kevala Bhakti, in order to attain Prema Bhakti, see, one can execute Kevala Bhakti for various reasons. One can execute Kevala Bhakti just for Dharmartha Kama, like Dhruva Maharaj. Initially, one can execute Kevala Bhakti for attaining moksha, in order to attain Brahman realization, Brahman experience. Then one can execute Kevala Bhakti to attain Prema Bhakti. That is also there. But when one attains Prema Bhakti, then naturally he attains that, he understands what is this impersonal Brahman. He understands that also. A devotee does not need to make separate investigations to understand the nature of Brahman. This is the point. Bhagavad Gita also confirms this. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. A devotee at once becomes a self-realized soul in the absolute truth. 24. यदास्य चित्तम् अर्थेषु समेष्वेन्द्रियवृत्तिभिः न विगृह्णाति वैषम्यं प्रियम् अप्रियम् इत्युत. This is also a cluster. Yes, 24-25 is together. 25. स तदैवात्मनात्मानं निस्सङ्गं समदर्शनं हेयोपादेयरहितं आरूढं पदमीक्षते. The exalted devotee's mind becomes equipoised in sensory activities and is transcendental to that which is agreeable and not agreeable. Because of his transcendental intelligence, the pure devotee is equipoised in his vision and sees himself to be uncontaminated by matter. He does not see anything as superior or inferior. He feels himself elevated to the transcendental platform of being equal in qualities with the Supreme Person. Nanu bhakti janye jnana vairagye kena lakshanena gyatavye. Question. How, through what characteristics do we understand that bhakti has produced jnana and vairagya? Of course, here jnana refers to not just understanding, it refers to understanding and realization. Vairagya does not only refer to detachment, but detachment and renunciation. So, through what symptoms do we understand that the person has developed understanding, realization, detachment, and renunciation? Anticipating this question, this is spoken. यदा अस्य भक्तिमतः चित्तं भगवद्गुण अनुरागेण तस्मिन्नेव निश्चलं सत् इन्द्रियवृत्तिभिः समेषु अर्थेषु प्राकृतेषु दृश्य श्रव्य स्पृश्यादि वस्तुषु इन्द्रियग्राह्यत्व अंशेन वसुतः तुल्येषु अपि इदं मे प्रियं श्रव्यादि इदम् अप्रियम् अश्रव्यादि इति वैषम्यं न गृह्णाति निन्दास्तुत्यादिषु लोष्टकाञ्चनादिषु च समभावनं स्यात् इत्यर्थः. When that devotee's chitta consciousness is unflinchingly fixed in affection for the transcendental qualities of Bhagavan, then he becomes equipoised in sensory activities. There are various sensory activities. Amongst in material sensory experience, there are things which are seen, there are visual experiences, there are auditory experiences, there are tactile experiences, there are things we see, there are things we hear, there are things we touch, and so on. These are all various material sensory experiences. So, and they are all grasped by particular senses. But factually, one is equal to all of them. That means one does not favor a certain type of hearing. Oh, I like to hear these things. I don't like to hear these things. He does not have that kind of dissonance. He does not exhibit that kind of inequality. In other words, he is equipoised in blasphemy, criticism, etc. He is equipoised whether he comes across useless pebbles, valuable gold, etc. The significance of advancement in transcendental knowledge and detachment from material attraction is exhibited in the personality of a highly advanced devotee. For him, there is nothing agreeable or disagreeable because he does not act in any way for his personal sense gratification. Whatever he does, whatever he thinks is for the satisfaction of the personality of God, either in the material world or in the spiritual world. His equipoised mind is completely manifest. He can understand that in the material world there is nothing good. Everything is bad due to its being contaminated by material nature. The materialist conclusion, the materialist's apostrophe, conclusions of good and bad, moral and immoral, etc., are simply mental concoction or sentiment. Actually, there's nothing good in the material world. In the spiritual field, everything is absolutely good. There is no inebriety, no defect in the spiritual activities because a devotee accepts everything in spiritual vision. He is equipoised. That is a symptom of his being elevated to the transcendental position. He automatically attains detachment, vairagya, then jnana, knowledge, and then actual transcendental knowledge. The conclusion is that an advanced devotee dovetails himself in the transcendental qualities of the Lord. And in that sense, he becomes qualitatively one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because of his transcendental intelligence, the pure devotee is equipoised in his vision, sees himself to be uncontaminated by matter. He does not see anything as superior or inferior, and he feels himself elevated to the transcendental platform of being equal in qualities with the Supreme Person. Taddeva Atmana Buddhya Atmanam Sviya Jivam Nisangatvadibhihi Hetubhihi Padam Brahmaswarupam Arudha Prayamikshate Anubhavati. Through his intelligence, he experiences his own soul as being disconnected from this world. And for these reasons, he is practically speaking experiencing the status of Brahman realization. Perception of the disagreeable arises from attachment. A devotee has no personal attachment to anything. Therefore, for him, there is no question of agreeable or disagreeable. For the service of the Lord, he can accept anything, even though it may be disagreeable to his personal interest. In fact, he is completely free from from personal interest, and thus anything agreeable to the Lord is agreeable to him. For example, for Arjuna at first, fighting was not agreeable. But when he understood that the fighting was agreeable to the Lord, he accepted the fighting as agreeable. That is the position of a pure devotee. For his personal interest, there is nothing which is agreeable or disagreeable. Everything is done for the Lord, and therefore he is free from attachment and detachment. That is the transcendental stage of neutrality. A pure devotee enjoys life in the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. 26. Jnanamatram param brahma paramatmeshwarah puman drishyadibhih pratak bhavair bhagavan eka iyate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead alone is complete transcendental knowledge. But according to the different processes of understanding, he appears differently, either as impersonal Brahman, as Paramatma, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or as the Purusha Avatar. Evamcha Bhakti Yoga Adhyaya Uktam Pashyanti Te Me Ruchiranyamba Bhagavad Dhamni Premavat Pashadatvam. तथा ज्ञान योग अध्यायोक्तम निश्रेयसम स्वसंस्थानम कैवल्याख्यम मदाश्रयम इत्यादिना ज्ञान फलम ब्रह्मैक्यम तथा अष्टांग योगाध्यायोक्तम मुक्ताश्रयम यर्हि निर्विषयम विरक्तम निर्वाणम गच्छति इत्यादिभिः योग फलमपि ज्ञान विशेषाभ्यां मोक्षमेव. सांप्रतं तु तस्मात् त्वम् इत्यादिना वासुदेव इत्यादिना च तत् सर्वं भक्ति ज्ञाने योग फलं केवलया एव भक्त्या सिद्ध्यति इति उच्यते. So in the chapter on Bhakti Yoga, through text 3.25.35, he pointed out that the result of Bhakti Yoga is the attainment of the position of a loving associate of the Supreme Lord in the abode of the Supreme Lord. And then in the chapter on Jnana Yoga, he pointed out that through text 3.27.28, he pointed out the result of Jnana, which is oneness with Brahman. And then in the chapter on Ashtanga Yoga, through 3.28.35, he pointed out the result of the yoga process which is moksha. Wait, there is something, most probably this is not properly typed. Let me just quickly do a check. What is this verse? Jnanamatram. Kaivalyakyam adashrayamiti atmishtam ityadibhihi yoga phalamapi jnana vairagyabhyam. Jnana vairagyabhyam. No, what is this? Jnana vairagyabhyam. Jnana vairagyabhyam mokshameva. The result of yoga is attainment of moksha through jnana and vairagya. Sampratam tu, in the current chapter, though, through texts 3.32.22 and 23, it is pointed out that all these results, that means the result of bhakti, jnana and yoga, can be achieved through kevala bhakti. Akama sarvakamo va mokshakamo udarati. Tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param ityuktam cha. It was already stated in 2.3.10 that whether a person has no desire, or he has all kinds of desires, or he desires liberation. A person with a broad-minded intelligence should worship the Supreme Purusha, the Transcendental Purusha, through intense Bhakti Yoga. That means through Kevala Bhakti. Yat karma phir yat tapasa ityadau sarvam mad bhakti yogena mad bhakto labhatenjasa swargapavargam madhama kathanchit yadi vanchati iti vakhyate cha. And he is going to say in 11.20.32 and 33 that whatever can be attained through various activities of the karma system or through tapas, austerity, everything can be attained by my devotee through bhakti yoga for me easily. If he wants, he can attain swarga or apavarga or my abode, whatever. Tatra ka yuktirityapekshayaamaha jnanamatramiti. What is the logic behind this? Anticipating this question, this current verse is brought about. Jnanamatramiti. Eko Bhagavan Shadaishwarya Purnaha Vaikunthanatha Eva Drishyadibhihi Drishihi Jnanam Tad Adibhihi Sadhanaihi Pratak Bhavaihi Pratak Bhavana Vadbhihi Upasakaihi Param Brahmadi Rupa Iyate Iryate Itacha Pathaha. There is only one Bhagavan who is filled with six opulences. He is the master of Vaikuntha. And through various processes of knowledge, he is perceived as the Param Brahma and so on through by various upasakas, various worshippers of him who have various conceptions. Sometimes instead of iyate, iryate comes as a reading. He is seen or he is said to be. Yadva, alternate meaning. Drishyaihi swarupaihi, adrishyaihi swarupaihi, drishyadrishyascha swarupaihi. Drishyadibhihi can yield another meaning. That he is seen with visible features, he is seen with non-visible features, or he is seen with features which are both visible and non-visible. Tatra parabrahmana lakshanam jnanamatramiti. Here, jnanamatram is knowledge only, mere knowledge. This is the characteristic of Parabrahma, the Supreme Brahman. Paramatmanaha lakshanam Ishwarah Puman iti. The characteristic of Paramatma, so Brahman. Of course, we are talking of the Supreme Brahman. Impersonal Brahman or the effulgence of the Lord is to be distinguished from the Jiva Brahman. So therefore, that is referred to as Parabrahman. So Parabrahman is characterized by the word Jnanamatram, which means mere knowledge, pure consciousness. Then Paramatma is characterized by the words Ishwaraha and Puman. Notice this, Ishwaraha Puman is the controller and the super soul. Tena Bhagavata eva Brahmatvat Paramatmatvat cha Bhagavat sadhana bhutaya bhaktya eva swasadhyam premavat pashidatvam jnana yoga sadhyam sayujyam cha siddhyati. So therefore, see here it's clearly stated. Param Brahma is Jnanamatma. Paramatma is Ishwara Puman. So then you have what is left out is Bhagavan. So he says, therefore it is understood that because Bhagavan himself is Brahman and Paramatma, the process by which one can attain Bhagavan, which is bhakti, and which has as its own target attainment of the position of a loving associate of Bhagavan. then that process can also produce the results or the goal of Jnana Yoga, which is Sayujya. न च तथा ब्रह्मसाधनेन ज्ञानेन परमात्म साधनेन योगेन वा प्रेमवत् पार्षदत्वं सिद्ध्यति प्रमाण अभावादेव. And one should note that through the process for attaining Brahman realization, which is jnana, or through the process of attaining Paramatma realization, which is yoga, Ashtanga yoga, that is, one cannot attain the status of a loving associate of Bhagavan in the Lord's abode. There is no evidence for that, because there is no evidence for that. Atra brahmanaha nirakaratvad adrishyam swarupam. Because Brahman is formless, its feature is not visible. Paramatmanaha api nirakaratvad adrishyam. Paramatma also, since he does not have a form, he is non-visible. केचित् स्वदेहांतर हृदयावकाशे प्रादेशमात्रं पुरुषं वसन्तं चतुर्भुजम् इत्यादिना सहस्रशीर्षा पुरुषे इत्यादि श्रुत्या केषांचिन् मते साकारत्वाद् दृश्यम्. But according to the opinion of certain practitioners, in line with 2.2.8 and Sahasrashirsha Purusha and similar statements in the Vedas also, it is understood that the super soul does have a form. He has a form, he has 4 hands, he stays within the space inside the heart, and he has a size of a thumb, and so on. So there are some who meditate on Paramatma as impersonal. There are some others who recognize that he has a form. Bhagavataha tu brahmatvat paramatvatvacha adrishyam. Bhagavan, because he is Brahman and Paramatma by nature, he is also not visible. Bhagavat avatara kale drishyam. And when Bhagavan incarnates to this world, he descends to this world, then he is visible. Anyada drishya drishyam cha. Otherwise, he is both seen, both visible and non-visible. See, because he is in Vaikuntha, which is not accessible to our sense perception, it is appropriate to refer to him as being not visible. Yaduktam Vishnu Purane Prathame Amshe, as stated in the first part of Vishnu Purana. Prakritam Brahmarupasya Vishnu Sthanam Anuttamam Atravyakta Swaruposau Vyaktarupo Jagatpatihi Vishnu Brahma Swarupena Swayameva Vyavastitaha iti. Asyarthaha Anuttamam Nikrishtam Tatra Prakrita Avyakta Swarupaha Tena Aprakrite Uttame Sthane Vyaktarupa iti. According to Vishnu Purana 1.2.55 and 56, Lord Vishnu, who is the very form of Brahman, has an inferior form in the form of he has a form within material nature, and that is said to be inferior. And then he has a form which is in the spiritual abode, Tena Prakrite Uttame Sthane, the excellent place, where he is visible. Inferior simply means that he is not visible, whereas in the spiritual world he is visible. So anyway, this is simply evidence that he is pointing out that the master of the universe has a form which is invisible and visible. In the spiritual world he is visible. In the material world he is not visible. But in either case, Vishnu himself is situated in his spiritual form. This is a long purport. We'll stop with this. We'll resume in the next session. A very interesting discussion here. But I should put a marker. Okay. Vanshakal Padravya Shri Pasantabhyo Vachapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.